Greetings, my friends. As you know, I'm sure, every time myself or Rebecca, we make a video on this channel, we want it to have something that has the potential to change your life in positive ways. But this video is kind of special because, to me, this is perhaps one of the most essential mental, emotional skills that we can possess. I can't believe that this is not taught in schools, that we don't have this as common knowledge, because it is so essential to living a life that is joyful, where we can be effective in what we do, where our energies aren't just scattered out blindly. This video is on storytelling, and I would like to open with Marcus Aurelius, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase him a little bit here, when he said that the only treasure that we can possess is this present moment, is right now. We trade this present moment for a pale ghost, an imitation of reality that we create in our heads, these stories that we're telling. I'm guessing 60, 70, 80% of the time, our minds are engaged in this storytelling, and we are divorced from this, from thusness. We hear this all the time, be in the moment, but to try to understand this is, it's as if here's this one treasure that Marcus was talking about, right here. And I am breathing this rich, wet air of northern Wisconsin. I can hear the sounds of my family nearby. I can experience this breath. There's this vibrant, incredible moment where even if things were going kind of badly in my life, I could be here present in this moment and be soaking it in, loving it, feeling vibrantly alive. That is the reality that's available to all of us. It's amazing, it's incredible. But what we do, what we've been taught, is to go away from this in our heads, to ignore it as best we can, and instead to focus on all these this storytelling. Oh, what do I have to do today? Okay, this and this and this. Or how do I look? Do you think I look okay in the video here? Or should I film it again? Or what if this happens? Or my neighbor, gosh, did they give me this dirty look? And what does that mean? My mind. It's all divorced from the here-ness. I need to credit Nicolette. She was one of our first forest monks. Nicolette was here for 11 months. She lived in the woods, basically solo, and she made not only enormous progress during her time here, but she left a legacy for future forest monks, a legacy of inspiration. And she is the one that gave me that word, storytelling. Rebecca and I had always known about this before, this mental activity that tells stories in our heads, but that simple word, storytelling, that she had learned from a teacher of hers, makes it so simple to understand. So stay with me today for this video, because it's going to be a really big game changer, I think, for all of us. The reason I didn't want to put this video together before now is that even though it was a concept that I understood, and it will be a concept that's easy for you to understand as well, I hadn't really integrated it. And just in the past 2 or 3 weeks, it is integrated so fully into me that my mind is either not storytelling, or it instantly recognizes when it's engaged in storytelling. This is our goal, is to start to be able to distinguish storytelling, because storytelling is very, very powerful. If we eat a junk food diet, then when we eat a Cheeto or a Snickers bar, it just feels normal to us. Junk, normal. But if we embark on a really healthy diet, and we stay on that for a while, and then we eat a Snickers bar, we feel like, oh my gosh, this is what that's been doing to me the whole time. It's the same thing with storytelling. For most of us, for me, for decades, storytelling is just normal. Absolutely normal. Even though it was so harmful to me, I couldn't recognize it. Then I started to use the techniques I'll talk about today to go off of storytelling and to direct my mind in a different place. So now, when a story comes in, it's like a Snickers bar. Immediately I'm, whoa, that is, I can taste it. It's too intense and I know it's no good for me. So off and away it goes. So the first thing is to understand exactly what storytelling is. There are many mental processes that we engage in. And all of these processes could basically be broken down into a couple small categories. To be in the present moment means to be in our senses. We are sensorily aware of what's going on. That's the richness of life. That is like there's an incredible meal in front of you and you're smelling it and you're tasting it and you're experiencing the sensations of the textures in your mouth. If there are people at the table, you're engaged, you're looking at them, you're speaking with them. You're fully immersed in this experience. That is the essence of life. That's the one treasure that Marcus Aurelius was speaking about. The one thing that we can actually possess in life. The only thing we can actually possess in life. This moment. Now, the other thing our mind can be doing, and this is what we've been trained into so well, is to be sitting down at that table with that incredible food and essentially ignoring the meal and ignoring the people. Because as I eat, I'm eating mindlessly. My mind is either just in zone off land or it is engaged in storytelling. It's thinking about that thing tomorrow and this and that and what ifs. That is the choice that we have in every moment. Are we going to possess that one treasure that Marcus Aurelius was talking about? The only thing we can actually have in life? Or are we going to be off, divorcing ourselves from this moment? The two ways in general that our mind is going to divorce itself from this moment is that zoning out. That's a different subject that I'm not going to talk about today. That's kind of a mental exhaustion that we get into that comes from living in a culture that's filled with constant distraction. Our mind going all over the place. Or we're engaged in storytelling. And storytelling, as I said, is very, very powerful. It is the process of thinking in our mind about the future or the past, about what ifs, about what that person said, about what I should do about this. And the key is that the storytelling mind is extremely convincing. For decades, it has had me convinced, albeit for a little bit. Ketan, what I think about, says the storytelling mind, what I think about is the most important thing for you to focus on. If you do not focus on this, there are going to be serious consequences. If you don't think about this, your life is going to fall apart. It is going to be seriously, seriously bad. Once in a while, I would see that for what it was, and I would say, you know what, I'm going to take my mind and I'm going to put it in a different place. And that storytelling mind would jump in. Oh, no, you cannot do that. This is so important. Think about this. And then I would follow it and go, yeah, it is important. It is. Oh, okay. Yeah, what if this happens? And then this would happen. And then that would happen. But what if that? And if that person thought, oh. And then I'm lost again. Over and over and over, I played this game. And that game, that storytelling, it leads us into anxiety. For some of us, this is a high degree of anxiety because our mind becomes obsessed with the what ifs and turns them into such huge stories that pretty soon things that would border on paranoia are going to happen to us. We're very convinced of that. For others, it's a low-level anxiety. Oh, what if tomorrow, my boss or my coworker says this, or they, boy, I could get fired for this. What if I get fired for this? Or where's that money going to come from to pay the bills next month? These constant kind of low-level anxiety worries, those things just, they not only lead us into anxiety, but they become a constant drain on our energy. So our life energy, instead of engaged in being right here, and notice that being right here, we have to say this to our storytelling mind, is the most effective place that we can deal with the problems of life. Worrying about the problems of life is basically a useless endeavor. Looking at a problem rationally and being engaged in solution-based thinking, that will actually solve the problems. So the storytelling mind, it is telling falsities. Not only is it making up fantasies about what if and this and this and this and this, not only is it making up fantasies, but it is lying about the most effective way to deal with the real life problems that we're facing. Because it's saying, worrying about it, thinking about it, that's the way that we're going to solve it. Not true. We're going to solve it by thinking about it very directly, not in that scattered worry way, but saying, here is the issue, how can I apply solution-based thinking to that? So recognize what storytelling mind is. It's going to be busy telling fantasies. It is going to try very, very hard to convince you that those fantasies are not fantasies. They are not a waste of time. They are real, and they are the most important thing that you can apply your energy to. That awareness is going to start you on the road to recognizing storytelling mind, because we have been engaged in storytelling for probably as long as you've been alive. I know it was that way for me. And we do it for so much of our mental time. Maybe 60, 70, 80% of the time, we have become so habitualized that we cannot taste it. As I said before, it's like that junk food diet. So we don't even recognize it. So now you know what storytelling is. And you can start to recognize it. And the key is, and this sounds brutal, but the big change, and especially in the last 2-3 weeks, has happened for me when I basically started to ignore the storytelling mind. Now, there's different ways that we can ignore something. We can ignore something by pushing it away and trying to bury it. Or we can ignore it by transforming it. And I'm talking about the latter. So when a story comes into our awareness, into our focus, in other words, when you become aware that you are engaged in storytelling, then that is the moment to switch your mind over. I say to the storytelling mind, hey storytelling mind, there you are. I love you. I am so glad that you are here trying to figure out my life and help me out. But I know that the methods you're using are not effective. So I'm going to switch to something else. And then we make the switch. Over we go. And the key is that we do this over and over and over. Every time we become aware that we are in storytelling mind, we make the switch. I became almost brutal with myself. And that's why I've had this enormous progress in the last few weeks. Is that every time it happened, I switched over. And now, in that space of 3 weeks, my life literally feels completely different. As far along as I was in many of the mental emotional realms, my mind was still engaged a lot of the time in storytelling. And it was using precious life resources in going over all kinds of crazy fantasies in my head and thoughts of what ifs. I've had this wonderful opportunity. I think what spurred this on is that we are very close to going to Hawaii. There is ample opportunity, to say the least, for the storytelling mind, my storytelling mind, to get engaged. To say, well, what if this? It starts at the airport, getting our stuff through, and it goes to, are we going to have good clean water, and what are we going to do about this and this and this, and there's 1,000 details that my storytelling mind could jump onto and would very happily do so. But I know that I am mentally capable of dealing whatever I'm going to deal with at the airport as it happens. I don't have to go through 1,000 different scenarios in my mind. The scenario that presents itself, I will deal with solution-based thinking as it occurs. We're all capable of that. We don't need this storytelling craziness going on in our heads. So, with that imminent leaving for Hawaii, and all the storytelling that could happen, I went into being just very brutal with myself and always going back. And I leveled up, essentially, and it feels amazing. And that is why I'm sharing this today. Because to not have the storytelling mind going all the time is so liberating. It's like I was carrying this gigantic 80-pound backpack and I shut it off and suddenly, wow, my gosh, I never knew how much weight I was carrying. And my mind was probably only storytelling maybe 10-20% of the time. Still, that amount of storytelling weight sucked 10-20% of my life energy out of me. We need a touchstone, because when our minds are engaged in storytelling, remember, there's going to be such power. That storytelling mind is so convincing. It is going to be brutal with you, trying to keep you on the storytelling track. So you must have a powerful touchstone. And a touchstone is a place where you put your mind, where you say, thank you, but no thank you. I'm putting my mind here. I'm going to suggest a couple different ones, and then I'll tell you what I've been using. So, gratitude is a really, really powerful one. If you are a Stoic philosopher, or you have just a more rationalist mindset, gratitude is something that's available to all of us. And you have to make it easy on yourself. You really do. So it often helps to choose one thing that you're really grateful for. Maybe, let's say, a person. So I might think of Rebecca. And then every time my mind is storytelling, I turn it to a feeling of gratitude for Rebecca. I just stop and I just feel gratitude for her. Gratitude. You can choose, if you, let's say you have God in your life, then choose God. Put your mind on love of God. And just focus and just feel that love. Love is another one that you can use. If you don't have religion or spirituality or anything, you can focus on love of a person or a thing. But your touchstone, it must be a positive emotion that's going to bring a smile to your face. That's really going to help counter that energy of the storytelling, which usually is negative. And make it something positive, so it needs to be attached to a positive emotion, and it needs to be an easy touchstone, an easy thing that your mind can go to and use it over and over and over again. So for me, I come from kind of a bhakti yoga perspective. You could say that I'm giving bhakti or love to God, but my conceptualization of God is very undefined. So I have a feeling, and I put a definition, or I wrap a conceptualization around what I think God is without limiting her or him to that conception, because thusness, the universe, whatever, I think is too big to fit into any box we humans can put on it. So I have that conceptualization, and then I put love or bhakti towards that conceptualization. And that is what I return to again and again and again. For me, it's Divine Mother. And I just have this conceptualization of her, and boom, I put my love towards that motherness that is all of this, all of thus, relentlessly. Relentlessly. That has been the key, and it's been so life transformative. I want to offer this up to you and assure you that if you have anxiety in your life, if you're feeling drained, energetically drained, if there's all this frustration or fear moving through your life, it is because the mind is engaged in storytelling. Your storytelling mind might be very obvious and direct. It might be very subtle and tricky. In either case, it is going to continually try to convince you that it is the way to go. Don't believe it. Choose a touchstone, a positive touchstone. Love for the world, loving kindness, meditation, whatever it is. Choose your touchstone and bring your mind back to it again and again and again. We have been taught to invest in money. You're going to go in here about people saving for retirement and how important this is and this is and this is to invest in. Those things will bring you only a tiny sliver of the joy and life quality that you will experience if instead, or in addition to, as the most important thing, you invest in getting out of storytelling mind and into present mind, into being here now, into tasting the food you are eating and being present with the people you are present with. This, as Marcus Aurelius said, is the only thing we can possess. This moment, right here. Don't give it away for a pale ghost, a pale imitation that our mind wants to create for us. Our mind creations, they are nothing compared to this. You might compare it to the new TVs that are so like crisp, and I see them when I go into a store sometimes, and these really crisp images. That's what is offered to us. And instead we're taking a little screen this big with all kinds of fuzz and we can barely see the picture. We're given the choice and we're staring at that fuzz. That is our storytelling mind. It's just a fuzzy, just pale blah compared to the crispness of this moment. Choose this moment. Choose it again and again, my friends. And share in the comments what your touchstone is and how in the next couple weeks it transforms for you if you get relentless with it. If you already have experienced what I'm talking about, if you've shed that huge weight and you know what it's like to be more present moment and less in storytelling mind, then tell us about your story because it will inspire others. Thank you for watching, my friends. I hope this video is a gift to you. You are a gift to me. Love to you all.